Okay, welcome back, guys. This episode is going to be about designing characters for animation, and this is going to be what is playing right now. Currently, I'm designing the snow leopard for my short animated film called Wildfur. It's up on my channel, so you can go watch it now. And well, I hope you enjoyed the animation. So this footage was taken back when I had pretty much nothing. I just had the script. And I was designing the characters from my imagination, what I imagined them to be like. I was also using a lot of reference. So this is one of the first activities I did for the animation, and I found it really important. So I would suggest to anyone who's getting into making an animation to first decide what the characters look like, small and large features, particularly the face, so you'll know how to animate the face when it's doing particular expressions and stuff like that, but also just the mechanics of the body, especially if it's a non-human thing. You probably, like this is, two of the main characters are not humans, they're animals, so it required me to learn the anatomy like of a completely different species, which was quite challenging. So in this, I'm not only trying to define the characteristics of the main character and what they look like when they're emoting and stuff like that, and it's also about the actual anatomy itself and how they work, like the mechanics of the body and stuff like that. So also I decided to make annotations as I went along as well, and I found that kind of helped. It's not like necessary, but it was a good little trick for me to get to know the characters more, is to actually like make note of what things they have that you can identify with and understand. So yeah, for these, especially for the snow leopard, I found him the hardest to draw, so I used a lot of reference images. I went on YouTube and looked up like footage of these animals chasing wildlife in the wild and seeing how they move and how they run and stuff like that. Came in very handy later when I needed to. I made a little YouTube playlist when I was researching, and I just put in a bunch of videos into this playlist and had that playing at the same time that I was drawing. But I also had saved loads of images. Websites like Pinterest and Tumblr are very good, but also just Google Images, stock photo websites like Getty Images, iStock Photo. I use Shutterstock a lot. For the design, I wanted the snow leopard to look as realistic as I could manage, but at the same time for him to be able to express emotions like on a human level. So that required me to uh, make a few alterations with the eyes, but generally they are quite expressive animals anyway. Like you can see when they're sad, you can see when they're happy, and stuff like that. So it wasn't too difficult. But I did find that looking at the Lion King beforehand, like seeing how they did it in the Lion King, gave me a lot of help. Obviously, it's not the same species of cat, but they're similar. So yeah, that was really helpful. I also just like, I have a cat at home, and I just studied how the cat moves and how it behaves, and I found that was very helpful. Oh yeah, I should also add that I'm using Krita right now, Krita. So go onto, I think it's krita.org or .net, and you can download it for free. It's a great sketchbook program or painting program. It's more of a digital painting program, but I use it. I use it as a sketchbook like this, and I find that the pens and brushes that it gives are very simple to use, very easy, and it's very intuitive, which is why I like it, and I prefer it for sketchbook stuff to Photoshop. But yeah, you can also use Photoshop or Illustrator or even Flash. And yeah, in this drawing here, I'm trying to break down the head anatomy into different sections so that when I'm animating him later on, I can I'm able to first draw the circle and then draw the other components onto it, and that's what we tend to do as animators. Is you start with maybe a circle or a rectangle or something. So it's good to first like do an observational drawing of your character and then break it down into like key shapes and then you find that when you do that, you're able to reconstruct those shapes in like almost any angle. So you're able to suddenly make like a three-quarter angle out of the shapes that you know, and just think about how they work in 3D space. Because I had already written out the script and I had a vision for what was going to happen in the story, I also decided to kind of kill two birds with one stone by drawing out some of the poses that I knew I would need later in the story. So I wasn't just drawing random poses all the time, I was actually looking for poses that I knew would come up in the animation. So this one, he's like crouching and he's got his teeth bared, he's ready for action, ready to fight for his life. And I drew that one in this because I knew that there was going to be a point in the story where his life was going to be in danger and that he would go into that kind of instinctive primal defense mode. So they're not just random drawings; they're actually like drawings that you know you're going to use, because then you can like if the pose goes well, you can literally just copy it straight away into your animation and use that as a keyframe. And now we're on to the owl design. So the owl design was a little bit more straightforward because I had already, in my previous project, I had already drawn birds as one of the main themes for the animation. So drawing this wasn't too tricky. In fact, I'd always wanted to draw an owl, like have an owl as the main character in the animation, because I find they're very majestic creatures and kind of they have they're very mysterious as well, and knowledgeable, and I just really like the character, but as well as their personalities, their aesthetic, like how they're designed, I find very appealing as well. And particularly with this breed of owl. So this is a barred owl, and the one of the things I really liked about this owl was the shape around the face and the over the head and the neck. They have this kind of cluster of small feathers which go around in a pattern, and it looks a bit like a scarf. So I liked that look. I thought it looked really cool. It was kind of humble and interesting. So um, and it was like unlike most of the owls that I'd seen, and I found it was a very beautiful design. So I decided to base it off that species of owl, and I'm really glad that I did, because I think the design turned out well, and I kind of wish that I was able to include this animal more in the animation. But of course, the animation ended up being very short um, because I only had a certain amount of time to do it, so I had to cut out a lot of the things that I was gonna draw for it. So again, with this owl, I had to change the eyes a little bit just so that I could get the owl to look like it was looking around, because in the actual design of this owl, it's like the pupils take up the entire eye, so it doesn't have any iris or the whites of the eye. You don't see that at all. So I had to change that slightly, and I also worked in a little bit of the barn owl design. So it's a slightly different breed. It's like a similar species, like a cousin species, I guess. Um, and the barn owl has different wing design, so different wing feathers. And I found that the barn owl looked a lot more fast and what's the other word, like aerodynamic. So I wanted to use the wings of a barn owl, but also have the characteristics of the barred owl. They sound very similar, and they are. Um, the only thing is, I didn't want to use the barn owl because I saw this film where the barn owl was like really creepy in it. So there's this barn owl like staring through the window, and it was really creepy. So I also did like little little diagrams of the feathers, like the feather shapes. So the feather shape and the properties of the feather change depending on what part of the body uh, it is. So I noticed that. So I did like the chest feathers, the head feathers, and the tail feathers. So they all look different. So I have a little diagram there in case I forget what they look like. Um, and I also tried to draw a few poses in different scenarios. So with the wings spread, also wings spread from behind. And when you actually get to animating like a bird, you begin to realize that there's so many different poses that you don't know how they work, and you realize, oh wait, I really don't understand how the bird's wings work in motion. So yeah, I did kind of underestimate how tricky they are to draw. Um, and I think reference footage really came in handy there, because I had this one video where it was just this bird on a stump. It was a barn owl on the stump, the stump of a tree, and he was just opening his wings and like kind of moving them around, and you're able to see the shapes of the wings and how they work and everything, and it was really helpful. All right, so now we're on to the butcher design. That's what I call him, the butcher, because he was going to chop up this snow leopard in the story, but he didn't end up doing it. He wasn't successful. The name I came up for him was the butcher, so it's kind of stuck ever since. So I always refer to him as the butcher. But he's just a guy with a knife who wanted to take the fur from this snow leopard and basically kill him in this process. So my idea for him at the time was that I wanted him to be this towering, menacing, like alien looking thing, because I think that's how the snow leopard would see him, as like a wild animal that's been out in the wild all his life, never seen humans before, gets brought into this place, and there's this big guy standing on two legs, wearing a coat made of leopard skin. Like, that's got to scare the hell out of anyone. So I also chose angles that would make him look big. I think in the first design I made the legs too long, but it ended up kind of working to my advantage. Wanted him to be scary, basically. And so I did this one from a downward angle, and I thought that would be really good, because that's like the kind of point of view that a snow leopard would see him at, if he was standing like right in front of him. So I used a little bit of perspective there to get that look. This circumstance, it helps the story to just have a bad guy, and it's only a minute and a half long. So I just decided I'll make this guy just be a very greedy person who wants money, and leopard skin are worth a lot of money on the black market. So it's like that was his incentive, really. It wasn't that he was just a cruel person, it's just that he wanted money. So yeah, I don't know, I think that maybe I could have designed this character better, given him something that made him more interesting, but to be honest, I just don't think I had time. Like, I had 3 weeks to make it. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna have to end it there. And I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, please do subscribe to the channel. I'm bringing out a lot more of these, which will give away lots of different tips and stuff. Also, if you'd like to give the channel a like or comment if you have any questions, that would be very much appreciated. I get back to everyone on their comments, and I might even make a video based on your suggestion if you leave a comment. In fact, it's very likely. So thank you very much, and goodbye. Like, go in, space out the frames, and draw in kind of the poses in between, what I like to call the breakdowns. And that's where, imagine it being like powering up. So